Drew Field, Technical Director, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
How has the art of presenting a new set changed over the years?
Well, it's changed a lot because of our video, use of Photoshop, computers, the fact that we can zap images around the world very quickly. So that has changed immensely how we do this. However, even though we could do what we've done here earlier this morning, teleconference, over telephone, emails, Skype, there's all sorts of ways of doing it, there is still the advantage of standing here with this very tactile thing and playing with it. The clutchable, touchable factor is immense, which is lost in dealing with the other media, the electronic media. So what has happened, at least for me, is the electronic side of it prepares me to deal with this side of it when the designer does come. And I am a great advocate of having the designer here and never doing it all just over the telephone or over the electronic imagery. There are things you can ask, there are things you can deal with, there are discussions you can have that really, I think, have to take place face to face. And a lot of it is, well, it's normal conversations, tone of voice, body language, and the fact that the 2 or 4 or 8 of you are sitting in rooms, or a room or rooms, and all have an understanding of the project, and then can sit there and work it out, moving things around and stuff. So the personal thing is still invaluable. The next step of that is tomorrow I take this to the scene shop. I would hate to have to figure out whether we can afford this show or not without having that and Benoit sitting together in the same room. It would not be easy.
Why is the clutchable, touchable, as you put it, still so important?
I think it's because if this little piece, for instance, shows up in the picture, and I look in the picture and say, what is this? And I don't care how many times I stare at that picture, I might not be able to figure out what this is doing, what its purpose is, what it represents, how it's going to work. And so when Benoit and I are sitting here and we're going through the model, I'm like, what is this? And I get an explanation. Now obviously it's coiled rope on a pallet, fine, but how does that relate into this show? And then the other question that ultimately comes down to the wire is, if we don't have the funds to do the show, can I get rid of it? And knowing what it does gives me a better idea. Can I ask the question, do we need it? So this is very important to me.
Does access to computer-generated images, like you see in the PowerPoint presentation, does that actually allow for a freer exchange of more ideas than you would otherwise be able to toss back and forth because of the ability to literally see what those options are?
Yes, it does. To use an example of a show we did several years ago, whose name just escaped me. I hate this.
They all run together.
No, yeah. Louisa Miller, thank you. Louisa Miller was a Michael Jurgen and Francesca Zambello production that originated in San Francisco. And San Francisco stage is considerably larger than the music hall. And we wanted to do that show here. It was a wonderful image, but obviously it was not going to fit. It had to be reduced. It also did a number of things. It was a curved wall, and sections of that wall could lift like a drawbridge, or split and form windows in the wall. And there were 9 of these sections that did all this stuff, which required a lot of motorized means of motors to lift scenery, lift parts of the wall, and we did not have the time, more than anything else, to make all that happen. The music hall being a smaller stage, it would require us to devise some way to make all this happen and then teach everybody how to do it. So the time frame for putting in was very long, but we still wanted to do it. So I took all the photographs from the production in San Francisco, and with Adobe Photoshop, redid all the photographs to show what it would look like if we did it in Dallas, and limiting the amount of drawbridges and little effects that we could do. Then sent that off to the designer and the director. And we all decided that yes, that reduced version would be workable. And so we did it. And that Photoshop technique saved us tons of phone calls and figuring out, scratching of heads and things, because we knew what we could do. I mean, I knew what I could get in a certain amount of time, and I knew with that time I could make the show do this, and so we had a place to start, which was immensely helpful.
There's a great 1960s Cold War film called Failsafe. Just stay with me here.
Okay.
And in this film, the president, played by Henry Fonda, tells the translator, played by a very young Larry Hagman, I want you to tell me not only what the premier is saying, but I want you to tell me what he's thinking, what you're getting from his tone of voice and the inference between the lines, because that's going to be just as important to me. How does that compare to your position?
It's the same. When I'm working in a room with directors and designers, stagehands, electricians, we say things, but how it's said and reaction is far more important many times in where we're going to be going. It tells you so much more. I mean, we are working on a stage. Everybody's on that stage all the time. All the world is a stage. And so all that nuance is very, very important. If I say to, say, a production electrician, I think we should do this, this, and this, and I get that sudden look or tone of voice, my thing is, oh, he or she doesn't want to do this, there must be some reason. So I got to find out what the reason is. And the reason could be perfectly valid, so therefore we change our direction. So it's constant interplay.
And you also have to be able to maintain a focus even when the general director and the designer walk in and sit down and start doing something over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Very good. What are you most looking forward to with this production of Roberto Devereux?
Working with this gentleman right over here, and with Stephen. I adore working with Stephen. Mm-hmm. He's very exciting. He does not get bogged down in, for lack of a better word, for the image. A lot of people, this is designed just like that. They are rigid about how they use it. He will understand the flexibility that is built into this. And he may on one day be going in this direction, but out of that process, working with the singers, working with the conductor, working with Benoit, might suddenly say, I think if we could just go this way, we might make a better point. And he has no fear of doing that. Because some directors have great fear of doing that. A lot of designers have great fear of doing it. A lot of people who do what I do have great fear of doing it. But Stephen, it's just like, let's go. This is a progressive work. So I enjoy that all the time.
Thank you, Drew.
Sure.
Thanks for
My
talking
pleasure.
to us.